sharing a little bit more about the approach. In doing this study, we wanted to basically hear the voice of manufacturers. And so there was a lot of consultations, engagement happened through various means to hear that voice, to grasp what they have to say. We had think tank workshops, which were more like consultative workshops that happened, one-on-one sort of telephone interviews conducted. And also subsequent to sort of that first piece of data collection, we had an online survey, which also sort of was done in a more focused way to collect data. And the approach that we took, it was a phased approach. So the first phase was to collect data from secondary reports through think tank workshops and telephone interviews. These were like more open-ended questions where there's a broad question asked, and people were sort of people had the liberty to sort of interpret and answer, explaining their context. So with that, we built the conceptual framework, and then to get more focused inputs, we built the online surveys. So online surveys acted as a way of collecting data and also validating the existing data collected already. We produced the initial insights based on that. And then there was a validation workshop to present what we have already found out and let people understand. So it was more like a debrief. People understand what we have done and tell us whether that represents what they had to say and add further on to that. So that was the exercise of validation. And then after that, we produced the final report. So our final report to the Gordon was something like 60 to 70 page report. I think what is currently out in public is a shorter version of that. So if anybody's who kind of in the registration page for the webinar, we had the link of that report shared. But if you either have not seen it or want to have it, just let us know. We are happy to share it with you as a link. It's a publicly accessible document. So in terms of people who participated, we had 59 industries basically providing us information and insights. A lot of them were manufacturing, engineering sort of industries, but there were also other organizations who are working alongside with them, either on skill development or providing funding, who work with manufacturers quite a lot in their total journey of development, who participated in the surveys as well. Alrighty, going to the key findings. So I have probably I cut down this by half, knowing the constraints with the time today with the workshop, because I wanted to have a few things shared, and then there's more time for engagement and discussion. So this is actually a summary version that I'm presenting. For the total research, we focused on three main things. Firstly, understanding what are the opportunities and challenges industries face in transitioning towards a clean economy. Secondly, what skills do they see as needed to be developed? Then third is how do they see them being done? So are skills being developed by certain means? Do they anticipate that they need to be acquired in a certain way? And the third question, we gave them opportunity to share their views on that. So once again, summary findings in each one. There are more things than this in terms of analysis, but I'll probably share an overview, and then if there's interest, we can share more on other sort of detailed findings. So manufacturers, a lot of them found that there's value in moving towards a clean economy. Probably 85% of them saw significant value or very good value. And do they see that is the current capability sufficient for them to transition to a clean economy? A lot of them, 85% of them, said it's not enough, that there's more skills that are needed to make this transition happen. In terms of opportunities and challenges, this is once again a summary. One of the opportunities a lot of them saw was the reforms that are happening in the government. There are new policies coming. And with the new policies, there are instruments coming, such as grants and other schemes. which provides a financial incentive for changing, as well as it gives a signal for changing that this is coming and you got to adapt. So government initiatives were seen as one of the major drivers for positive transformation, positive transition in general. And the challenges, on the challenges side, the fact that there's always, or rather, it's generally supported with with business case. So it's pros and cons there. Sorry, there's pros and cons there when we say that it needs to be supported with a business case. So, as an example, if you think of the need to drive emissions down in transportation, the driving emissions down will drive also cost down in transportation. So there's a evident, like a very sort of a clear business case for driving emissions down in transportation. But there are other initiatives where there's not such a drive. There's no cost drive. Sometimes cost is a trade-off in the transition or the initiative that you have to sort of take up. So in such cases, if without a sound and evident, prominent, apparent business case, there was a bit of a lack of drive in moving towards some of those, uptaking some of the alternative practices. So that's one of the things that industry saw as a challenge. Then secondly, technology and infrastructure. So there are the access to testing, experimentation facilities, access to specialized tools, access to, again, skills was one of the other challenges that the industry saw in this one. So norms and behaviors. So here they basically talked a lot about the fact that the typical decision making in an organization, there's consideration about profit, revenue growth, but environment as a criteria sometimes get pushed back. So basically having that common perception that organizational decision making has to be driven for profit or for revenue or growth, or new projects or market. So that rather making an opposing weave against those perceptions to challenge that was seen as a challenge. So some of the other challenges that were expressed by small organizations were things like not having access to a dedicated sustainability person, an expert, and having to source some of those knowledge through consultancies, which are expensive, and not having that internal drive when you can't fund a dedicated sustainability person was a challenge for some of the smaller businesses that we talked to. Alrighty, I am moving to the next one, which is skills and capabilities. So for this one, we actually had two set of skill categorizations at high level: technical and transferable. The way to explain them, so technical actually, it's not really maths or engineering that we considered as technical. They are skills that are needed for driving specifically clean economy transition. Transferable skills were more like general skills that are needed in driving any type of organizational transformation or move to where you deal with organizational change. So transferable skills were applied to not just clean economy, but also other types of change that the organization undergoes. So it's skills for adoption, skills for growth, skills for basically change in general. So technical skills, there were 5 types of skills that we categorized. I probably would go through them with examples. There's a long list in the next slide, so I have highlighted some of the examples here. So general and advanced technology skills are they're skills which drive manufacturing efficiency. So it either makes the processes faster, drive precision, help save waste in some ways, but they're not exactly clean economy focused skills, such as CAD/CAM design, precision machining. So these are highly sort of specialized skills, which also helps in clean economy because they drive efficiency. The second one, specialized technical skills toward clean technology innovation. So these are skills where you have I might have to mute you. Sorry. Alrighty. So the second one is specialized technical skills towards clean technology innovation. So if you, for example, have hydrogen energy as renewable energy source, adopting new sources of renewable energy, or going to explore new sort of storage and distribution systems for energy. So they are sometimes infrastructure and technology related, which are associated with a certain clean economy related alternative. So these were the second type of skills that we saw. So there's a clean economy element here, plus an infrastructure technology element here. The third one were clean economy integration focus skills. So these are heavily clean economy focus. They were for identifying, measuring, and improving environmentally responsible manufacturing practices and technologies. Examples are things like carbon accounting, life cycle assessment, measurement skills, energy audits, etc. The third one, data-driven decision-making skills. So they are not exactly manufacturing related, sometimes related to the other parts of the value chain. So it could be basically demand-driven planning, for example, in manufacturing. So these skills were necessary for creating connections with the other parts of the supply chain in the manufacturing supply chain, and that data basically helps drive waste or improve efficiency, or help reduce times with automation, etc. So this is the fourth type of skills that we saw emerging and identifying as needed. So fourth one is cross-disciplinary integration skills. So this is something we actually did not anticipate to be very prominent, but which came out of the discussion. So there are three types of skills integrated in a nexus here. One is engineering or technical type of skills. Second is business skills, and the third are clean economy skills. If you kind of see that interface, this is that skills which have that represent that interface. So an example is business case for technical innovation in clean economy. So when you do a business case, you need to identify the technical innovation a little bit in depth. You need to identify what's the role that clean economy, the contribution towards clean economy that alternative plays. And you also have to integrate business knowledge. So things like that, where there's cross-disciplinary integration needed, was the fifth type of skills that we saw as a prominent category. So I will not describe the transferable skills a lot. At the end, in the recommendations, I have a bit of an overview provided on how we recommended to integrate them into new programs. So let me give a snapshot of the strategies at the moment. So when we asked them what are the strategies that they saw as necessary to integrate them, so a number of them, there were a number of sort of opinions and inputs. Micro-credentials were seen as one of the key ones because it facilitates flexible learning, self-paced learning, which I think some of the time-poor manufacturers or entrepreneurs really needed. General improvement of literacy and communication on clean economy. That was one of the other, programs for that is another one identified. Very specialized courses, industrial relevant specialized courses need to come. So an example for this one, a few parties communicated about the lack of understanding of material science. So do enough university courses or TAFE courses talk about material chemistry and material science for innovation towards a clean economy? So that's one of the examples there. Industries came up with the idea that is there an opportunity for graduates to retain in the area, for them to have pooled programs where multiple industries actually train graduates in a graduate program. So a couple of industries engage in giving opportunities for graduates to go through a program subsequently happening with each of the companies. That was the idea. So sharing of best practices and case studies from the industry and helping graduates with career selection. So this is where Graduates have for them to identify what motivates them, incentivizes them, and where they see they so aspirational growth, giving opportunities for them to figure that out in the industry so that they have I would say, a self-motivated way of advancing themselves. So some of the ideas that were pulled out for as strategies are these. Now, a few other things that we find insightful. Because this study was commissioned by the Gordon, we actually had a bit more focus on early career entrance. So graduates, vocational graduates, tertiary graduates, and early entrance to the industry. But in the study, we also figured out the need for skill development for middle level managers and top level managers quite a bit, which is actually covered through TAFEs and tertiary institutions cover them, but there's also professional development. The need for professional development came as a prominent thing, especially in the surveys we conducted. This is one of the things about the collaborative skills development. So we asked, remember I talked about technical people to understand non-technical people and non-technical people to understand technical people. We asked how important is it for business staff to have technical related literacy in driving clean economy initiatives. It was fairly high, but if you account for important, it comes to like 60%. But this was very high in terms of, identifying how important it is for technical staff to have business related literacy in driving clean economy initiatives. It was considered very high. So basically about 90% figured out that's important, fairly important, or very important altogether. So this was the fact that we talked about collaborative learning and collaborative engagement within an organization between technical and non-technical functions in driving clean economy initiatives. So going to the strategy and the recommendations part, it's probably the last 5 to 10 minutes. As I mentioned, we had a higher focus on vocational and tertiary students, but we also figured out the need for professional development of early career, mid-career, and executive level professionals. When we think of how to transfer knowledge or how to build skills, we kind of thought of 3 levels. Fundamentals, where we give knowledge, content, teach them. There's more kind of student, like teacher-driven sort of content sharing here. Application, giving them grounds to practice. Integration, giving them opportunities for integrating and achieving higher levels of applications like innovation, for example, innovation through integration. So we in the recommendations, we try to categorize it as what level we might need to actually have this built. So I have 5 slides basically summarizing this. So this is for vocational and tertiary students. The first 3 types of skills, general and advanced technology skills like CAD/CAM, specialized technology skills like hydrogen energy and renewable energy, and clean economy integration focus skills, either to cover through current study programs, so intensify how you cover it, or introduce new study modules, and to have it covered at fundamentals application level. That was the recommendation that we gave. The next 3 types of skills, cross-disciplinary knowledge of business engineering, clean economy nexus, which are things like building business cases for clean economy transition, and data-driven decision-making and innovation and change management, which is a transferable skill. Introduce new study modules and work on overlaying skills. So an example for overlaying of skills is where you have a technical project for, let's say, for example, reducing waste in an organization or in a sort of a technical setup. You give an assignment, but you have the skills for negotiation or skills for stakeholder engagement given as sort of a prompt, or rather it's being assessed in that module. So basically you overlay it with other types of collaborative engagement skills to make that introduction to application. So this is at application integration level. Then to integrate these ones, work integrated learning and industry collaborated projects were another way of basically building it as we recommended. Third one, again, for vocational and tertiary students. So overlaying of skills through by overlaying it by using current modules, graduate pooling programs, work integrated learning programs, and work readiness programs. I think these were already planned with the second phase of the project with the Gordon. But overlaying, probably you would have to do by carefully looking at the current modules and helping to integrate some of the skills such as persuasion, negotiation, communication, engagement with stakeholders, etc. So this would be recommended to cover at application integration level for the graduates. Then going to the early and mid-career professionals, so there the strategies were quite different. So what we have to expect here is that these are people who have already sometimes chosen a career path in another profession in the organization, who want to learn more of clean economy related skills, or who are looking at career changes or probably reskilling in their career. So the first part was about upskilling. So this part was more about reskilling and cross-skilling. So how to facilitate that? We recommend a number of strategies here. Short courses, which enables self-paced learning, peer learning through communities of practice, sharing case studies and best practices, exposure to cross-disciplinary projects, professional coaching and mentoring. So for example, things like carbon accounting, it would be good to upskill them at fundamental level, but for building skills like sustainable sourcing, sustainable procurement, material choices with low embodied energy, you kind of need a lot of other support through communities as well to build that confidence to have those skills activated. Then going to the next one, top and executive level professionals. So these are probably seasoned professionals at fairly senior level. We again recommended to upskill them at fundamental level for things like carbon accounting, measurement skills, but other things like innovation, leadership skills, and advancing professional practice knowledge, professional coaching and mentoring, and as well as peer learning and other means as well. So this has to be done at application integration level. So going to my last slide, just consolidating what we talked about. So I was telling about, we started with figuring out how to upskill. We also realized the need to reskill and cross-skill professionals who are existing professionals in the industry. So for early career or early graduates, new entrants to the industry, there are a number of strategies to adopt there. And for mid-career, early career professionals, mid-career and executive professionals, there's another set of things to do. So for people who have already chosen a career path, enabling lifelong learning, helping them to shift careers, helping them build credentials slowly, gradually through smaller programs. That's the role that we wanted micro-credentials to play in the whole context of things. For graduates, I think we had a very kind of a detailed categorization of skills and suggested strategies to basically undertake the transition. So this is actually the learning of the study. And I would like to move on to the panel discussion, giving you more time for